Industrialization is the process by which an economy moves from primarily agrarian production to mass-produced and technologically advanced goods and services. This phase is characterized by exponential leaps in productivity, shifts in rural or urban labor, and increased standards of living. By typical measurements, such as income per capita or labor productivity, industrialization can be considered the most important economic development in human history. Human productivity and living standards remained relatively unchanged from the beginning of the agricultural age around 8000 to 5000 BC until the first industrialization in Great Britain started in 1760. Through industrialization, we have seen more goods produced in less time, increased time for recreation and leisure, and an increase in real incomes. The Tertiary Education Trust Fund was swift to recognize that if Nigeria is to become a self-reliant player rather than a pawn whose destiny is determined by other nations in the world, it must industrialize. This is why industrialization is one of the thematic areas of the recently inaugurated TETFund Standing Committee on Research and Development.
13 sector-based thematic areas have been identified by the committee preparing for the inauguration. These 13 sector-based thematic areas include agriculture, that includes, of course, climate change, food security, food science and technology, etc. Environment and biosciences. 3. Medicine, One Health, in other words, human, farm animal, wildlife health, etc. 4. Pharmaceuticals. 5. ICT digital economy. 6. Petroleum fossil resources, solid minerals and mining. 7. Industrialization, manufacturing, trade and investment economy. 8. Engineering, technology and mineral science development. Infrastructure development. Education, energy, governance, social development and internal security. Finally, not the least, defense and the military.
The major industrial shifts in Western economies occurred during the Industrial Revolution of the 18th and 19th centuries. Economic historians tend to point to 4 significant national industrializations. First, the original industrialization in Great Britain between 1760 and 1860. Second, the industrialization of the United States from 1790 until 1870. That was followed by the unmatched industrial gains in Japan between the 1880s and 1970. Then came the industrialization of China from 1960 until contemporary times. The logic of industrialization is simple and straightforward. When more goods can be produced more quickly, the cost of acquiring these goods decline. Declining real costs make it easier for individuals and families to purchase those goods. This increases the standard of living. Without increases in productivity, most families would be priced out of owning refrigerators, automobiles, computers, television sets, electricity, running water, or other goods.
The key solution will really be what I said, strengthening the capacity of the universities and research institutes to actually work directly with the industry so that the products of their research can be commercialized. That really is the problem. It's not that we don't have the indigenous knowledge of transforming these products. But the fact is that we must realize that we are also competing globally. And as long as we depend on food importation, I think prior to COVID, this country must be spending close to $10 billion annually importing foods. But if we produce them, the products may even turn out to be more expensive than the imported products, again because of the issue of economies of scale. The real thing to do is to encourage this type of intervention that TETFund is doing, so that gradually we begin really to develop the local capacity to produce, in my own area, these food products.
Many have wondered why industrialization has been a challenge to Nigeria over the years. Members of TETFund's Standing Committee on R&D give an overview of some of these challenges.
When I was in the council, a major issue we had was the issue of funding. And when you look at the funding of the Agric Research Institutes in Nigeria, almost 80% of the funds go to salary payments, and about 20% goes to the research component. Even that, you are talking about the physical component of the funding, like infrastructure and so on. But the actual amount of money that goes into research is less than 5%. So there was a need to have core funding for research. And I remember that efforts like this were initiated by the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology. And I was part of that. But somehow that did not see the light of day.
Agriculture was the mainstay of our own economy. And also that we also made similar mistake along that line. Why? Because all we were doing is agric production. And you do agric production and you market the primary goods by selling them out of the country. Okay? We refuse to also consider the whole thing that those agricultural produce that we market, not only for eating purposes, they are also raw materials for so many other things, which we are taking chocolates and all these things. Some of all these things are the same agric products that have been processed. Okay, somebody buys cocoa from here, from you, goes there and brings chocolate to you. Why don't you develop the chocolate yourself? But we're not doing this, we're selling this, but these people became smart. They don't have all this raw material, but because they can now process these things into edible or things, consumable goods, material things that we depend on, basically, they benefit more. So we produce in the process, but somebody refines all these things and comes out with the product that you buy.
The Executive Secretary of TETFund, Professor Suleiman Elias Bogoro, who conceptualized the Standing Committee on R&D, gives an insight as to why it is so important to industrial growth.
If today we want to improve on the quality of a particular drink or any snack in Nigeria, it can be pomo, it can be masa, it can be nakia. And you want to improve on it, especially in respect of lifespan or organoleptic qualities of those products. You have to inject research. If you bring the industry and the researchers that have the expertise to make a difference and add value through the outcome of your research together, and you grant them the funding and they work together, that is the essence of the National R&D Foundation. For the first time, we have inaugurated TETFund Centers of Excellence, with majority of the Centers of Excellence around the disciplines of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, as it were. And we are also conscious that we deliberately emphasize some of the Centers of Excellence in agro-based areas, whether it is species conservation, marine research, artificial intelligence, kidney transplant, you can go on and on. Of course, infectious diseases, we have COVID, we have Lassa, we have had Ebola. You don't know what comes next. Let us have those centers of excellence that they will become references of excellence. That's what a center of excellence, in terms of faculty quality, in terms of research infrastructure, and outcome of research.
TETFund has brought in the scope. And if you look at the people, the academicians and personalities that have been put together under the Standing Committee for Research and Development, it cuts across the entire spectrum of the economy. And we need to look at a basic framework that will be used to build the building blocks. Even if we're asking for increased funding, there must be a basis for that. And so what this group is doing is looking at who are even the stakeholders that we are talking about. What are the institutions that we are talking about in terms of R&D, both within the public sector and the private sector? And then we look at the quality of infrastructure that's available. And so we can aggregate that to see how we can now justify what kind of funds that are needed to really revitalize research and innovation.
The countries that merely rely on agriculture have remained underdeveloped, whereas nations which developed industries achieved high rates of development.
This is where I give commendation to our former Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Adeshina. I worked under him for about 4 years. There was a lot of emphasis on value addition because most often we produce the raw products and then we export these products outside, and then they add value to the products and then bring it back and sell these products at very high cost, to us. So and it's one of the issues that we are looking at under the Agri Group, value addition. And if we do that, I think we can save a lot of foreign exchange.
The advanced countries encourage industrialization on a large scale and transferred advantage to agriculture. They achieved balanced growth in various sectors of the economy.
If knowledge drives the world today, then you know that research and development is very, very key for informed decision in policy making. You need to get data, get information so that you can take informed decisions on matters. When you start doing that, that's research. Countries that have developed, they developed because of this. In fact, they have made it in such a way that the average citizen subconsciously has imbibed the culture of research.
In India today, everything they talk about is make in India. Make India, make in India, not made in India, make in India. So bring it in there, make it in India. So we can encourage, our economy is robust. So many people want to invest in Nigeria, but we must seize that opportunity and seize the initiative. For as long as we give them the impression that they have a large market here where they can bring everything that is not useful to them, dump them here and expect us to buy, we will not make effort to developing our own initiative and other things. So it's a wide range of benefits to everybody, starting from the man in the village, the man in the town, the man in the city, the academia in the university, the industries, the military research institutions. Everybody will be working, and at the end of the day, what you now have is a knowledge-based economy for the nation.
When I first appeared in UK for my PhD, to do my PhD, the first thing I realized is that people don't just go to market and go and say, how much is this, and they pay. No. They go to market and then go around in different places, trying to look at the various products, various costs, before they decide to make payment to buy these things. By doing that, they will be able to assess the cost, assess the quality of what is available, so they have choice. And so these are very important elements. So when we talk about research, essentially we're saying that before you take a step, get proper information that will guide that step. So dig into that to get that information, analyzing the information, for decision making helps in taking decision that moves you forward.
If Nigeria is to industrialize, a massive investment in infrastructure is required. Investment in roads and rail will increase the mobility of labor. Shortage of capital, transport, and communication facilities are obstructing expansion of industries in Nigeria.
Starting with $1 billion is good, but I think we should be more ambitious. And one of the challenges, of course, that goes with that is that even if you have the funds, the question you will ask is, do you have the absorptive capacity for such huge funds? And we've had this problem before, where funding is available and then utilizing the funds becomes a problem. I think TETFund also has had that problem over the years, where they have the funds waiting to be utilized by researchers, but the capacity to utilize these funds was not there, because people can write research proposals, but they don't know how to write winning research proposals. So funds will sit down and then you cannot access the funds. And this is part of what we want to change, the culture that we want to change. And so for me, I think this is a great innovation. I think TETFund has taken the bull by the horn to actually embark on this.
TETFund's triple helix strategy brings government, academia, and industry together, and it promises to boost the amount of capital required for intensive industries like steel, iron, chemical, and automobiles.
If you are supposed to confront a certain security challenge within 1 month or thereabouts, and you desire to get the equipment and you have paid all that is necessary to get the equipment deployed to deliver to you, and they decide to deliver it to you after 3 months, is of no use. The best operational plan is of no use after the operation has commenced. So that equipment will be of no use to you because you would have passed that situation, and so it cannot address it. So, but when you develop yourself, when you have your product, one, maintainability, availability, the spares are readily available. It is not a case where you will grant your equipment and grant your operation because you are awaiting spares. We have seen it severally in these operations, severally, from the trade sites, be it air, be it ground, be it from the maritime area. So we need to refocus, and we need all the determination and support that we need. That is the only way, because for as long as you continue depending on imported equipment and platforms while fighting the enemy, then you are not an independent military.
Huge capital is also required to establish and expand industries like textile, carpet, sugar, and paper. Nigeria once had a vibrant textile industry built around its huge cotton reserves. Over time, these profitable companies collapsed. Investment in innovation and research for development is the only way they can be revived. Much can be learned from nations who have succeeded in these sectors.
South Africa carried out in their industry, they tried to look at the level of industrial competitiveness. They looked at textile, that they were not competing well. What did they do? They challenged Cape Town University to say that, look, we want you to look at our textile industry. We want you to now see what will it take for textile industry in South Africa to be as competitive as textile industry in India. Because India is the benchmark. They said, our challenge is we want to catch up with India in the next 4 or 5 years. And the university, we want you to. And what did the university? The researchers, first of all, they went to India. What is going on in India that is not in South African textile industry? And they were able to see, oh, pattern making, the process technology, and so on. They came back and they started addressing all those issues. Within 3 or 4 years, the level of competition of textile in South Africa improved considerably. That type of challenge is why we are saying, why don't we, and Nigeria will even do that easily, because we have a number of people that can respond So that's the type of thing that we're expecting R&D also will do, to be able to look at our competitiveness in various sectors, identify what are the deficiencies that you can now turn to our universities, polytechnics, will challenge you with this. And then, of course, you fund, and they will respond.
The commercial triangle that keeps wealth within the country can be complete when industry, with government support, identifies unique needs and fund research in universities, colleges of education, and polytechnics.
In the military, we have some of the security challenges confronting us. Imagine a situation whereby you have like an ISR aircraft, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. And this ISR aircraft is supposed to give you some information when it's overhead the enemy. And for certain reasons, when it's flying over the jungle, maybe the enemies now decide to take cover under the trees. So you have a situation whereby the camera cannot penetrate the foliage. And this is a situation that we had to overcome. And you go to the camera companies, they will tell you that they do not have cameras to address that situation. And you go around the world, you cannot buy the camera. So what are you supposed to do? Because unless you address this, and you can only address it through research and development.
Today, when you talk about knowledge economy, what you are essentially saying is that you are utilizing your manpower, the cost of competition, at what level? At the level of tertiary institutions. For the purpose of putting Nigeria at this level in 10 years, for example, we will need to catch them young. So we'll get a set skill sets that we will want that by the time somebody finishes primary school, those skill sets are already ingrained in him. If he goes to the secondary school, ingrained. Here you see the colleges of education play a pivotal role. There are some rudimentary elements of technology that you can teach somebody at that age. He gets to the secondary school, goes to the polytechnic, which is designed for skills development. Basically, you get another set of skills which are going to be based on research.
The outcomes of research are then received and scaled up to finished products by the industries, who can then be rewarded for their investments when policies are designed to ensure that Nigerian products are patronized by the government and the public. Further income can then be earned from exports.
Part of the problem we've had as a nation is that we are only selling the crude oil. You are not adding any value to it. Because we have not been doing that, essentially we lost the opportunity to develop R&D in the process so that we can now actually add value, meaning that you refine. So instead of the crude oil, you will be selling refined products. And when you refine crude oil, so many things open up. After you've removed the aspects that you're looking for, the distillate that is left, you can actually fractionate it into different things and get different components. Most of these different components you can use in the pharmaceutical industry, for example. You use Vaseline. All these are products from petrochemicals. And then I can tell you so many other products and all these things. So we missed the opportunity of getting R&D by adding value to oil.
The food multinationals should be encouraged to work with the universities so that the products that are developed by the universities are taken up by the food multinationals and promoted. Because at times, it's just really the marketing that makes the difference. But if we work towards this kind of intervention that the TETFund is promoting, and institutions can really be empowered to move on, like I said, from beyond the bench scale to pilot plant production, so that indeed the food industries can adopt whatever product that we produce. In that way, the products are consumed locally And before we know it, we'll be able to meet the international standards.
The economic growth provided by industrial development is a well-sustained growth that can transform any economy. Industrial growth and economic growth go hand in hand. Economies thrive when an industry is growing because a growth in industry means more jobs, more money, and more opportunity. As a population grows and industry develops, there is an increased demand for goods and services. And there is more innovation and more financial opportunity. We all profit as a community thrives through industrialization. And that is the paradigm shift.